guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my NCLEX experience. For those of you who don't know, the NCLEX is the test that nurses have to take to actually get their license to practice. So you can have a job, but you can't actually start practicing until you get your license through passing the NCLEX. So it's a pretty big test. It's like the monster of tests for nurses. So I had a pretty unique experience with the NCLEX, and hopefully my experience will be able to help you guys study and pass the first time. So before we get started, just please make sure that you like this video, comment on the video, subscribe to my channel, watch my previous videos. Just let me know things that you guys want to see me do in the future, and let's get started. To start off, let me tell you the NCLEX stands for the National Council Licensure Examination. So the test is computer adaptive, meaning that the questions that you get are based off of how good or bad you answered the previous question. You can get between 75 and 265 questions. Yes, I said 265 questions on a test. So the minimum being 75, that means that if you're doing really good, it could shut off at 75, or if you're doing really bad, it could shut off at 75 and you won't know. Or it can shut off anywhere between 75 and 265. So you can get 76 questions or 96 questions or 102 questions or 264 questions. It just depends on how you're doing. It's kind of like going above or below the passing standard. So if you're doing good, it's gonna, bump you up above the passing, and then if you start coming back down, you're gonna come down, 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 down. Then you gotta bump yourself back up. So if you stay down too long, it's gonna cut off. But if you stay up, it's gonna shut off too, but you just don't know. There are alternate format questions, so there's select all that apply, math questions, hotspot questions where you have to click on a certain spot on the screen. They have audio on there where you listen to like heart tones or something like that. It's a lot of stuff, so it's a scary test. Like, pretty much everybody who graduates from nursing school is terrified to take the test because ultimately it's like determining your future. So, after graduation, we all hyped up like, hey, we graduated. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, but I gotta pass this test though. I gotta pass this test. And I'm a terrible test taker because I have test anxiety. I will go crazy trying to take a test. So I just, knowing that in my head is really what was a huge barrier between me and the test. I just didn't want to take it. I didn't want to take it at all. So after I graduated, I took a little break, like a week or two break after graduation, just of like no studying or whatever. So when I got back to studying, I was in the library like 6 out of 7 days a week, super stressed out, super depressed, just like trying to study and memorize everything that I could. So when I was studying, I was using Hearst Review, which a lot of you probably know or heard about. It's a review class that's created to help you pass the NCLEX. And then I purchased a UWorld subscription, which is a test bank. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard about that too. UWorld is like super hyped up right now for NCLEX prep and practice questions. So I was using UWorld and the Hearst Review book. So I did go to another live review session for the Hearst Review and was filling out any blanks that I had in my book. Let me show you guys what the book looks like. So this is what the Hearst book looks like, and it's basically just used for material. It doesn't have any practice questions or anything in here. It's just like a bunch of fill-in-the-blank material. And it's kind of like, it's just different. It's the information about different stuff. Yeah, so it's just like a bunch of material that you fill in the blank for on like different body systems and stuff. So it's kind of split up by like endocrine, cardiac, renal, GI, neuro, respiratory, orthopedics, oncology, pediatrics, stuff like that. And it's great for material. Only thing, like, it just doesn't have everything you would ever need to know, obviously. It's not an all-inclusive book of nursing school. But it does a pretty good job at breaking stuff down and giving you like mnemonics and stuff to help, you know, understand. So I was using the Hearst review book for my material. And then for UWorld, I think it came with like 2,000 questions or something like that. So I would just try to do between like 75 to 100 practice questions a day, which was hard to do. Sometimes I was slack, but you know, that's just what I was doing. So my main focus when I was studying was to memorize everything that I could. I wasn't really focused on any type of technique or test-taking strategies. I just wanted to memorize everything. I thought that if I memorized everything, like, nothing could come on the test that I won't know. So I just try to memorize everything, try to be a human sponge and soak it all up. We'll talk about how that went. Like I said, I did this for maybe 3 to 4 weeks. Like I said, I was super depressed. I didn't see my family. I would not do anything except for study. I was so sad, y'all. Like, it was crazy. I literally went to the library, went home. To the library, went home. The first month of me being a new graduate was terrible. I was just like completely depressed. So I was literally nervous, like get butterflies, have like heart palpitations every time I thought about taking the test. Like, I'm itching now because I just was so nervous trying to just think about taking the test. It was just like, to me, I felt like my life depended on me passing that test because I already had my job set up. That was the main thing. I already had my job set up. I already had my start date set up. And so me failing that test would throw off everything. So I was not trying to fail it. Okay, so test day comes up June 19th. I'll never forget it. I was a wreck on that day. I scheduled my exam for 12, so I was up early that morning freaking out. They say not to study the day before the test, so I didn't study the day before, but I was still freaking out the whole day. Like, I was just so anxious. I was crying, it was a mess. So the day of, still freaking out. I'm driving to the test site, crying, listening to gospel music, like crying my eyes out on the way to the test. Just all wrong. Just my whole demeanor about it was just off. I didn't have any confidence in myself. I felt like I was gonna fail it. It was terrible. So I finally get to the testing center. I'm trying to remember like random stuff. Like, it's like my mind is on overload at this point. Nervous as hell. So I finally sit down to take the test. The first question I got, I was like, bruh, I don't know this. Like, I don't know this. That just threw off the whole vibe for the test. I was like, wow, like, I really don't know the answer to this question. It's the very first question. How can I not know the answer to this question? I don't know. Like, it was bad. I literally felt like I was guessing the whole entire test. I felt so sad. I was talking myself down like, I don't know this, I don't know this, I don't know it, I don't know it, I don't know it, I don't know the answer to any of the questions. That's really how I felt. So I get to 75 questions, still not cutting off. 100 questions, still not cutting off. 110, 120. 5 hours go by. I did not take one break. Not one break for 5. I didn't take one break. Not one break for 5.5 hours. Next thing I know, I'm at 265 questions. The whole 265. I had all kinds of questions on that test. Like, any alternate format question you could think of, I probably had it like 10 times or like 20 times. But yeah, I really got 265 questions. And when I got to that point, I was like, I failed. I know I failed. I felt it in my heart. I just knew I failed. It seemed like I didn't know anything on the test. I was so sad. So I'm leaving. I'm crying immediately when I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, I failed the test. I know I failed. I was at home crying, telling my mom, telling my grandma, telling my sister, telling my boyfriend, telling my friends. I failed the NCLEX. But I wasn't this calm. I was spazzing out, like hysterically crying. It was bad. There's this thing you guys have probably heard of, the Pearson VUE trick, where you try to go re-register for the test and, you know, all this other stuff. And I'm thinking, what the hell? I was telling myself I wasn't going to do it because, you know, the good pop up, the bad pop up. I told myself I wasn't going to do it, but at that moment, I was desperate. I had to know something. So, my go and do the Pearson VUE trick. Of course, I got the bad pop up because clearly I failed the test that I knew I failed. Got the bad pop up, and yes, I did the trick right. So I'm telling them, I'm like, I told y'all I failed. I just did the trick. I got the bad pop up. I failed. So I'm still trying to stay hopeful. Not really, because I still knew that I failed. So the next morning, I'm checking for my name on the board. You know, just like maybe. You know, by the grace of God somehow. Maybe I passed the test. Before 24 hours, it wasn't even 24 hours, like before 12 o'clock the next day, I got the email saying that I failed. So basically, I was just so sad that I failed. I was like, dang, I really failed the NCLEX. Like, I let my mind and my thoughts get the best of me so much to the point where my worst fear became a reality. And so from that point, I was just like, I don't even know what to say now because I was that sad. I didn't even know what to say or how to express it. I was just so sad. So I came home, I was like, I was crying for like a week. I ain't even gonna lie. In my head, that was the worst thing that could have ever happened to me in my whole entire life. Mind you, you can take the test over. You gotta keep paying over and over again. The test is not cheap to take by any means, but you can take. You have to wait 45 days in between taking it again, but it's not like you can't take it again. But I didn't want to. I was like, I felt like at that moment I had done everything I could do to pass the test. Like, I don't know what else to do to help me pass. So that was really what the problem was. I didn't know what to do to pass. So I went back to my regular life, spending time with my family, you know, doing me. And every time I thought about taking that test, anxiety like hit me in the face. I did not want to retake that test. So me failing my test threw my job off because I was supposed to start like a month after I passed, but I had to end up starting like a few months after. So that was bothering me too because I was so scared that my manager wasn't gonna work with me. I was gonna lose my job and all this other stuff. But God is so good. My manager was amazing and let me keep the job. 2.5 months passed by. That seemed like a long time. It felt like a week to me. But 2.5 months go by, and I'm like, oh, shit. Okay, I need to take the test. Obviously, I had to start my career. So when I started back studying, everything was totally different. I went to one of my favorite teachers / mentors, and she helped me so much. She ended up providing me with this CD that was used for NCLEX prep. The system is called Exam Cram. I would highly recommend using Exam Cram just because of the way that the question bank is formatted, because it's formatted how the NCLEX is broken down by percentage. So I was doing the questions like, oh, this percentage of the test is going to be these kind of questions. So that, I think, helped me a lot, being able to see it like that compared to seeing it broken down by body systems. I used 3 different Lippincott books, and I'll try to put a picture of them like right here or something like that. I used those 3 books, and they had online versions of them, so I was able to answer like some of the questions online and stuff like that. And one of the books was all alternate format questions, so that was helpful because I had gotten so many of them the first time. And then for material, I still used the Hearst book just as a reference, and I also used the Saunders book for material. Just if I couldn't remember something or, you know, just want to look something up, I had those 2 books for material. But the main difference this time was that I was focused on how to answer the questions. The key to passing is knowing how to answer the questions, knowing how to break the questions down, and knowing what they're asking you. Because it is impossible to know everything that the NCLEX has to offer you. You can't know every little piece of material or know every single thing that you learn in nursing school. I mean, you could try, but a big part of it is knowing how to answer the questions. Because like I said, I memorized that Hurst book back and forth, right and left, every way. I memorized the book, and it wasn't enough because I wasn't focused on how to answer the questions. Yeah, I was doing practice questions, but I still wasn't focusing on how to answer the questions. Like, what are they really asking me, and knowing how to break the question down. Because that's why I said the exam cram helps, because if you get the same kind of question over and over and over again, you'll learn how to break it down. Not just the same kind in the sense of, oh, this is a cardiac question, but a prioritization question or a delegation question. Those kind of questions, if you get those questions like back to back to back to back, you'll start realizing like, oh, I know how to break it down. I know how to figure out what they're asking me. So that's why I'm going to keep saying the exam cram was set so far apart from the other things that I used to help me study. So just to recap, for the second time I studied, exam cram, the 3 Lippincott books that I used, just to have a variety of questions, the Hurst book and the Saunders book. Those are the things that I used to help me for the second time. Also for the second time, what was a lot different is I wasn't studying in and out 24 hours a day. I was still enjoying my family. I think I studied for 2 weeks tops on and off for the second time I took the test. I wasn't as stressed because I had more confidence in myself. I'm like, okay, I know how to answer these questions now. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know the stuff. So I was a lot more confident the second time going around. I was prepared to do the 265 questions again, but in my heart, I knew I couldn't take it, so I was telling myself, you're going to get 75 this time. It's going to cut off at 75. So I got my test schedule. I actually changed the site of the test. I didn't go to the same place that I took it last time. I changed the time. I took it at 8 o'clock in the morning instead of 12 so that I wouldn't have time to freak out in the morning. And I did study the day before. It wasn't like hardcore studying, but I did questions and I did review some of my notes because that's just the kind of person I am. Not studying the day before, that wasn't me, and I knew that from the beginning, but I still tried it and I failed. When I was on the way to the testing site, I was lit. Okay, I was not crying on the way to the testing site this time. I was in a good space. My head was in a good space. I had confidence in myself, like I said. So that made a big difference. My mindset was totally opposite than the first time. So I got to the testing site, sat down and started taking my test. And this time, if I didn't know something, I kind of talked myself up. Like, I'm like, you know this. You need to calm down. Just take a little break. Calm down, but you know this. You know how to answer this question. You've answered these kind of questions before, so you know. I got to question 72 when my first break came around, and you bet I took that break. I took a break when I had 72 questions. I went to the bathroom. I told myself, girl, you at 72. It's going to cut off at 75, whether you did good or bad, because I could not take 265. But I'm telling myself, you're going to pass at 75. You got 3 more questions to go. It's go time. So I went back to my seat, finished those last 3 questions, and the test, sure enough, cut off at 75. But I felt confident. I felt good about myself. I felt good about the test. I felt like I had a chance at passing this time. I told myself again that I wasn't going to do the Pearson View trick, and I did it again. And I got the good pop-up. But you know, that's not that reliable. I wanted to see my name on the Board of Nursing website. I wasn't going to believe it until I saw my name on the Board of Nursing website. So the next morning I checked and my name was up. So that means I passed. I was so happy. It was like the best feeling ever. I felt so relieved. That's really the word I could think of, is relief. I felt like such a weight was taken off my shoulder. Like, seriously. Me failing the test was like such a hard thing to deal with because I'm not used to failing. I'm not used to feeling defeated or anything like that. So I'm glad that it happened because I learned from it. It made me a better person. And I'm glad that I'm able to, you know, share my experience with you guys so that you don't have to go through the same thing that I went through. So just some tips to take away for testing or for studying. Don't rely on just one source. Use multiple sources for questions. Use multiple sources for, you know, the material. Don't just stick to one thing. And I'm not bashing the Hearst review or the UWorld because they both were extremely helpful to me. You just have to know how to utilize them. Don't just focus on material. Don't just focus on doing questions. You got to have a balance of both of them. But if you have a good balance, you're going to be killing the test. Like, you're going to kill it. Once you know how to answer the questions and how to break them down and learn how to identify the type of question that you're answering, like I said, not just like a respiratory question or this is a cardiac question. Not just that, even though that's helpful too, knowing this is a priority question. So pick the killer answer. Whichever one is going to kill the patient is what you want to go with. But just have a balance. Don't just stick to one thing. I think that's the biggest takeaway. Balance. And that's balance with, you know, material and questions. Balancing your life with the studying because I was going insane not doing anything. So you still want to have balance. Treat yourself to do something, even if it's just once a week. Just try to have some type of balance with the studying because you'll get caught up in it and your mind will get the best of you. And you don't want that to happen. I hope that this video was helpful to you guys. I hope that you guys have the best experience possible with NCLEX. I hope that you were able to take something away from this to help you study or help you get prepared for it. And I wish you guys the best of luck with the NCLEX guide. Like I said in the beginning, just let me know anything that you guys want me to talk about or do dealing with nursing, outside of nursing, anything. And I'll see you guys in my next video.